Welcome to Behind the Play, a video and podcast product of the Hoops crew that explores the lives of Geelong players past and present, as well as the off-field figures that are keeping us Geelong strong. My name is Paul James. Today, I have the great pleasure to chat to Jed Bews. Welcome aboard, mate.
G'day, mate. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
It's awesome to chat as we record, and we are recording these things in a bit of a vacuum at the moment. But as we record, about a day before the preseason slog really kicks off. So how are you travelling personally? Feel like you're ready to go? Longing for a few more days or weeks break? Where's the head at right now?
Yeah, it's always tough to go back that first day, and I've had a good little break. Just gone the last 3 weeks. I spent a couple of weeks with my sister up in Canada, so yeah, it's been completely different Christmas to what I'm used to, and it's been awesome. I've loved it. So it's a bit tough to go back, but at the same time, I want that routine and just to get the training, just get that in would be nice. So I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, I've had a good break, and it is tough to go back.
I mean, talk us through the Canada trip a little bit. I guess what'd you get up to? I know on Instagram there's little bits there from Niagara Falls. So did a bit of tripping around while you're up there. But I guess what were some of the highlights from that time away?
Probably having a white Christmas with the sister. So sister moved over there just after the grand final last year. The year before now. Yeah,
2022. Yeah, it's a weird thing. You haven't adjusted.
Yeah, 2024 now. So she moved over there just after we won the flag, and then she's been over there since. I haven't seen her. All it is FaceTime. And then so I thought I'll get a little trip over there to see her. So having a white Christmas was completely different to what we're used to having a.
Oh yeah. That said, I think we came pretty close here in Victoria this year with the amount of rain that was going on.
I was checking the weather forecast, and I'm like, it's probably a bit nicer here. It was cold where I was, but it was sunny, and it was actually beautiful weather.
Yeah, it was hosing down here.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't, and I've got back, and it's actually been all right here. So I don't
nice.
know what fuss about.
You timed it well. You brought the weather with you.
Well, yeah, I like to think that. So yeah, spent the Christmas with her, and just kind of seeing the life that she's made for herself over there is pretty cool. She's up in Banff, which is a really amazing little town. You're surrounded by mountains. So I loved it being up there. We did get across to Niagara Falls for a few nights, just to kind of explore the east coast. And then I left her and came back to Australia. So
that's right. Some good time away and time with family is I think always needed. I think for anyone, let alone someone such as yourself who works in the industry that you do, and there's constant external noise and pressure and those sort of things, and dealing with clowns like myself. Eventually you need to be able to come up for oxygen and get away from it. So time well spent. Yeah,
especially I like to get away on my breaks. I'm born and raised Geelong pretty much, so it can be a bit of a bubble at times. So any chance I get, it's always nice to get away and just do something completely different, get away and get out of that little footy world that is Geelong. But it's also nice to come back to it and get back into it.
Was there, I guess kind of half leaning into, the normal beats of kind of the show, but obviously like Dad had a tenure up north. Was there any time that you spent up there, or is it always basically just been that Geelong bubble in terms of where you've been based?
Yeah, so I was born in Geelong, and then I think it was, I don't know, a month later or so, moved up there for 5 years, because I'm a December born. I'm not sure how it all worked back in when my dad was playing, but it must have been in the new year. Moved up there for 5 years when he played up there, and then he got a coaching gig back in it was Williamstown in the VFL.
Yeah, and
so we're back here from then on. So I've got little bits of memories from up there, but basically,
but for the most part, it's all you've known.
Yeah. I did support Brisbane growing up, so it was just because I was kind of around,
and it's all you knew at the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess I got to see the 3 premierships in a row from them, and then obviously Geelong were successful a few years later. So it's been a pretty good footy, I guess, viewing when I was growing up. I got to see a few flags, which was nice, and then finally got to get one myself, which was even better. But,
what was the? I guess you say you were kind of growing up as a Brisbane supporter. Was there kind of some sort of push and pull around you to try and steer you towards one team or the other, or as long as it was one of the 2 teams that Dad played for, we're not too fussed?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't care if I ended up, I don't know, any team. I was happy to go and play footy. I actually did.
I mean in terms of your support as a kid.
Support.
Was there kind of that tug of war to try and get you to go more Geelong because that's where the majority of the career was, or
it was weird because Dad, when he got back, he actually was doing the running for Geelong as well.
Yeah.
So there was kind of always mixed pulling. Not that I just kind of enjoyed watching footy.
Yeah.
I did love my Lions. So if I had to pick one when I was growing up, it was Lions. And then as I got a bit older, the soft spot kind of grew for Geelong.
Yeah, and I guess to your point before, the Lions' success there in the early 2000s at the age you would have been kind of helps consolidate a few of these things, I'm sure.
Absolutely. When they won 3 in a row, you're like, I've picked the right team here. Like, this is it. It's kind of locked it in. And then you realise after a few more years, like, they're pretty hard to win. So, yeah, it was easy to enjoy the Geelong flags as well.
There's natural ups and downs that kind of goes on, but obviously getting to kind of watch on and see those Geelong premierships of 7, 9, and 11, and then as you said yourself, eventually get to experience that yourself in 22. I guess as we lead up to that point of being drafted and actually joining the Cats in the first place through the father-son, what was it? I guess what was that noise around you? Did it seem obvious? And I know the father-son system then was different to what it is now with the bids and those sort of things. Was it always going to be Geelong in your eyes at that point? I guess how did that kind of period leading up to draft look?
Yeah, I was probably a bit naive, and I just didn't really expect anything at all. My top year in Geelong Falcons didn't play the Vic Country or anything like that. So when all those boys went away, that's probably when I actually started playing some good footy.
Yep.
And then got to the end of the year, and I was actually doing a bit of pole vault as well.
I've got the junior national champion stuff there.
So it was for me, it was always going to be footy because I love the team aspect, whereas pole vault's very individual.
Yeah.
So I think I was always going to go down the football path, but at the same time, I didn't expect it to go where it did. I got to the end of the year, and Geelong actually organised a meeting, and they just come out and said we're gonna draft you. It was a bidding system. I think it's changed a little bit now, but it was a bidding system when I got picked up.
Oh, was it? I lost track of when they kicked in. Yeah, right.
Because I remember they come in, they said, we're going to pick you up, but if a team bids for you in one of the higher picks, we probably won't match it. So the good news for you is you're going to get picked up. Most likely it'll be us, but if a team bids higher, then we're not going to match it. They said, we don't think that's going to happen, but that's where they. So I was pretty honest, and I wasn't sure whether to believe or not, but they bid it for me. I think it was about a month after that, and it all went through smoothly, which was good.
I mean, it's kind of handy to know where you stand, and obviously there's probably a cynical side. You're like, you want to doubt it, and that's always going to potentially kick in. The negative thoughts are there and can kind of take over. But I guess in other ways, it's nice to have that really clear transparency and probably some security there at that point. That if I get picked up early, I get picked up early, great, and if not, then I know where I'm going to be, and this opportunity is there, and they've kind of declared their hand. They want me. So when the time came and you picked up by the Cats father-son, what was that initial experience like? I know 27 was offered to you, and you chose not to go with that. What was going through your mind? Because we know that there's players who are, there's been plenty of father-son stories over the journey that have opted to go with their father's number, and plenty of others that haven't as well. You were on the side of not going with with the 27. What prompted that decision for you at the time?
Probably Stokesy had at the time, and
I would too, yeah.
And for me, it's like, well, that's his number. Like he's won his flag, and he might want a couple. Like he's had so much success in the 27. So I was like, I felt a bit rude coming in and just taking over his number, because it's not Dad's anymore. It's actually Stokesy's. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, that's your number. And to me, it is just a number. Like in a way, it's nice to have your own number and kind of try and make that your own.
Make your own legacy, yeah.
Yeah, it was, for me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, that's your Stokesy. Like it's not for me to take off you. And I think Dad he didn't care either. He was just like,
well, that makes it easier.
yeah, you're on a list. Like that's probably the main part. You've made yourself, found myself on a list. So the numbers just, doesn't really mean too much at that time.
No, that's awesome. And so picked up in the 2011 draft, and it took a couple of years before your debut. What were those first couple of seasons like in terms of, I guess, establishing yourself within the club through the VFL system, getting games, trying to develop your own game and learn the systems around you? Obviously, the senior team was pretty successful at the point that you'd arrived, and was still there or thereabouts for those first couple of years that you'd entered. So what was that, I guess, initial period like as you were trying to carve out your own space?
Yeah, it's tough. You hear everyone say the work begins when you get to an AFL club, and it's pretty true. You get there, you're full of energy. Obviously, you've just been picked up, and then you start pre-season, and it brings you back down to earth, and you realise how much work you need to do. So I was actually pretty skinny when I got drafted. I think I put on 10 kilos in the first year. So I was, I think I was about 76 kilos thereabouts when I first got picked up. So I knew for me it was probably getting a bit of size, and my aerobic ability just improved that, which pretty much every year, my whole career, it's just slowly getting better and better. So they were the things I knew I had to work on. The first year, actually, in the VFL, we won the flag. So it was,
Nice to get early success.
we're like, and I'd never won a flag in any juniors ever. So,
okay.
So to come in my first year at the club in the VFL, I'm in the flag, I was like, this is, not that it was easy, but it was like, this is, it's being successful. I can get used to this. Like, this is what it's like being at Geelong. So I have 2-3 years in the VFL pretty much. I think in the second year, I was going to play 1 week. And I remember Nigel Lappin, he goes, this isn't, what happened was I was in the warm-up and I rolled my ankle on Trav Varco in the VFL. And then I did a good job of it. So I think it was about 3 or 4 week injury. And then I remember I was chatting to Nigel Lappin, and he goes, this is not going to help you at all. He goes, it might help you
right there.
You're going to play the next week against Melbourne. And I'm like, damn it. Like that was, it was nice to know, but at the same time, it's like frustrating because then they kind of got their team set. They went into finals. It was pretty much a locked team.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I can't remember what week I actually played, round 6 or 7 or something.
Thankfully, all thanks to Ben putting the notes together for us. Round 9, 2014 against Freo.
Yeah. And I think we had a bye the week before it. And Scotty came in literally after the round 8 game and said, you're going to play against Fremantle. Just in the lounge, just pretty casual. I was like,
yeah, all
right. And by that point, I think I was ready. I was playing some good VFL footy, and it wasn't, I don't want to say I wasn't nervous, but I was that ready to play that I wasn't as nervous as what I probably should have been. And obviously before the game that I got nervous, like running out over in Freo in front of
a pretty hostile crowd.
Hostile crowd's probably a good word. They, I remember hearing a few things, and I'm like, Jesus, this is what footy's about. Okay. Because it's weird when you're on the other side of the fence, you actually can hear what people say when you're close to the fence. There was one person yelling out, "Who are you, 24?" I'm like, well, this is my first game, so I'm no one. So
just give me a minute, and I'll tell up your best player, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, well, I thought it'd be smart to go and bump Pavlich, and it was his 250th or
big milestone for him though.
Yeah. Somehow I actually ended up with a game ball from that, which was pretty
really
impressive because there wasn't many footies like there are in today's game. So there's only probably maybe 3 footies.
Yeah, half a dozen. Yeah.
They used. So I managed to get one of those. Got that framed up, which is it's actually it will be hung up soon. It'll be put up on the wall. I somehow got a ball, which was nice. My first game was it was special. I was, apart from the grand final, probably the best experience I've had.
Now you've obviously had Dad who's been there and done it for so long up to that point, and is got lots of stories to tell. Was he and I guess part of it goes both ways. Was he wanting to kind of get in your ear and talk to you about it, and were you wanting to receive that? It was very much okay, like Jed's got his way that he wants to do things, he'll approach me. You know, I guess what did that kind of dynamic look like? Because there's plenty of father-son stories out there, but they're not hugely prominent still. And so I guess those experiences can look different from person to person and family to family. What was it like for you leading into game one with all that Dad had already been through?
To be honest, he was just the same as any other week, which Dad's not really someone to force anything. It's always up to me kind of thing. Like he wants me to go and experience it. He knows that the club has 30 coaches, so he knows I'm getting all the footy stuff I need. He's more there for the support outside footy, I guess, or if I'm not playing well, if you really see something, he'll have a chat, but it's nothing like, he's never demanding or telling me how I should do things. He's pretty switched on with, he knows that it's just completely different to what it was when he was playing. But there are some similarities, which there's been plenty of times where I've been frustrated, angry, disappointed, whatever, and I've just gone here, grabbed a coffee and just like, let's sit down and have a chat. And
nice.
always leave those chats feeling better and with a bit of a direction. So he's never been one to force anything. If I had chose pole vault back in the day and gone down that path, he would have been just as happy and proud. So he's very, very laid back. Even though there'd be the competitive side when he's watching,
comes out,
beat him up, but he's very calm. Mum, on the other hand, she gets up and she's one of the walkers that will go and walk the aisles when games get close. And
right.
But both my parents, like they go to pretty much all my games apart from interstate. And even my brother and sister, any sports or anything, music, whatever it is, they're always there to support.
They'll find a way.
Yeah, they just love us kids and just want to be there and support, which is I think is pretty awesome.
No, it is amazing. And so I guess jumping back to your point about kind of the initial days there, the debut, and having a crack at the wrong person with Matty Pavlich and whatnot. That first game, we brought up the stats: 15 disposals, 5 tackles. That defensive pressure that I think is so well known for, clearly being demonstrated there from the get-go. When you got a chance to debrief on, I guess, come up for oxygen from that first game, what was the initial impression?
And
even, I guess, celebration as well, because again, it is this big milestone, and there's family and friends that have all been, cheering you on for years, and this is the moment.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. When the game finished, we actually lost the game, but I had a smile from ear to ear, and having my parents in the rooms after was awesome. During the week, then you start to knuckle down on things you can actually improve, but all the messages from the coaches are just like, it's your first game, just enjoy it, which you do. You run out there I remember I started on the bench, ran out for about 30 seconds, and I was looking back at the bench thinking, I need to get off. You just run around like a
I'm not up to this.
Yeah, I've made a mistake here. But you get used to that. And I think it's it's more, I think the next week is the interesting one. I think we end up winning the game, and that's when I actually had all my friends come to the game.
Yeah, okay.
Being the Perth trip,
it's
not
hard.
my mates. Yeah, they're not really in the position to just drop everything and come across. But when we played down Geelong the next week, it was awesome to have everyone there. And then you start to get, I guess, into the details of how you can improve and you want to keep your spot. It's a dream to play one game. You play your first game, you're like, maybe 5 games would be nice. Then you get to 10, you're like, all right, let's get to 25. And then it just kind of builds from there. You get a bit not greedy, but you want to play as many games as you can and help the team.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I guess like in those first couple of years, so as I checked the numbers, there was 7 in 2014, 16 in 2015, 8 in 2016. So there was a little bit of a slip in that regard. And so I guess what's going through your mind at this kind of up and down? I mean, things were kind of, I guess, a bit challenging for the Cats in that period. 2015 was a year of missing the finals.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of movement even with some of the senior players coming and going as well. What was that like for you in that period where the games weren't, you were getting games, but they weren't consistent at probably the level?
Yeah, it was frustrating. That was probably the periods where I had to go to my old man and be like, what I need to do. For me, one of the things I worked on my kicking a bit. they were pretty strong on that. Let's get that, that standing up a little bit. So we, I went to work with that with Nigel Lappin. He was one that I went to, and I still do. I go to him for a lot of things. Things aren't working. He's one that I always lean on. But yeah, it was definitely frustrating. I think it was one of the years I didn't play as many, but I got brought in for the prelim. So I've been emergency in and out. So not that I thought I was done necessarily, but I was like, I knew I was on the fringe, and they were picking other blokes in front of me, and all of a sudden got to the prelim. So they'd won the week before, got to the prelim. I think it was prelim. Yeah, I think it was. And they brought me in against Sydney.
Oh yeah, prelim.
So I was like, so they obviously trust me in these big games to do my job. So yeah, sometimes when you think you're not around the mark, all of a sudden it can change just like that, and then you're back in the frame of mind. So I think we lost that game, but at least playing all right in that game, I felt like I still belonged and I was needed. And then I think the following year after that, I kind of turned a bit of a corner, had a good pre-season, and going all right since. But it's definitely it's frustrating when you're you're in and out on the fringe, not sure, emergency, in and out. So it can be frustrating, but you just gotta, I guess, just stay there, just be present, because you can turn pretty quick.
But yeah, to your point, from 17 onwards, it was very consistent from that point. What I'm looking for the lowest number. Actually, 2019 was a lower year with 12 there, but like otherwise it was, it's high teens to 20s, and you mentioned 2021 all the way through to 25 games in that particular season. But you've been a staple of the team pretty much ever since.
Yeah, I think the 19 I had some injury issues. I had OP, which didn't help, shoulder surgery, which also doesn't help. That's probably been my thing the last 4 years, just little injuries and things that can keep you out.
Continuity, right?
Yeah. The last couple of years I've had a little knee issue, but that's kind of I had surgery in the off season just gone, so fingers crossed that's behind me now. So
that's job.
Yeah. It's just, I guess, managing those things and just staying on top of it. Working with the physios, like we've got, I don't know, a million bloody staff there looking after us, so it's just working with them and just getting the best plan to be available for selection. That's probably the battle.
When it is a series of, and potentially different things as well, obviously you mentioned OP and a shoulder, and when you're potentially in a scenario where it's a range of different things, and it's not that I want to, I guess, belittle the player who does an ACL or something like that, because it's a horrific injury, but it's a single injury. You hope that never happens again. You get the work done and off you go. But you're in a scenario where okay, OP, I'm back, everything's going all right. Boom, shoulder. You get back a couple of weeks later. Boom, this. What does that do, I guess, mentally when you feel like, okay, I've overcome this one, I'm ready to go again, and then you get smacked back down by something else?
Yeah, it's frustrating. In a way that, like you said, not to belittle like an ACL, but when you have a single injury, it's just that one thing that's broken down. Luckily enough for me, I haven't really had too many soft tissues. You have little niggle ones here and there. Yeah. But most of my stuff's been structural stuff, like bones, broken face, fingers, that kind of stuff, shoulders popping out. So it's stuff that's like not actual
collision based.
So I feel like with those ones, you can push them a lot because structurally it's actually quite good, and the all the ligaments and everything are good around it. And then last year I've just had this knee issue, which turns out was just a cyst in my knee.
Okay.
I thought it was a bit of a tendon. It's a bit of a tendon issue, so it's annoying, but it's not going to I'm not going to snap it or anything, and it's not going to.
Well, it's cysts are kind of something there that shouldn't be, and so especially probably going to put a bit of pressure on the things that should be there and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So
exactly. Because they went in there and they're like, oh, there's not really much wrong here. Oh, wait, here's all this fluid and stuff. So I took that out, and things have started to improve. So it's like, okay, it wasn't just in my head. Like there was something there. But yeah, when you've got lots of different things going on, it's just frustrating. But I tell you what it does do, it adds a lot to your gym programs and your rehab stuff. You got to do shoulder work, ankles, knee stuff now. Like it turns a half an hour gym session into an hour and a half pretty quick. But they're just things you got to do before games, before training. Just keep everything nice and strong and in check.
And some of these things just become perpetual parts of the program now.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't had an issue with, I don't know, I'm throwing an example out, say shoulder. I haven't actually had an incident with this in X number of years. That's still just baked in as a part of the program now because I've got to keep maintaining it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's not as much as what it was in the past, but it just might be like 5-10 minutes, once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. So you get used to doing, all those little things, just so you can get out on the track. Because I found that's half the battle. If you're healthy and you can just get through the program that they give you, that's half the battle. Because then you're fit and then you're ready to go come the season. So that's, I guess, the aim for the next couple of months. Have a red hot crack because Jan Feb's probably going to be our biggest months, and
it's
then
the intense block,
then all of a sudden it comes around to March and it's game time. So it comes around pretty quick.
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard just how close we are to things actually formally kicking off. Not so much on the training side, but actually the games themselves. And so, as players, I'm sure you've got dates circled on calendars and those sort of things, and obviously the club putting together programs and stuff. But I'm sure probably even to an extent it catches you off guard with, oh, okay, we're ready to go again.
Yeah, it's like pre-Christmas, it's always like, oh, it's next year. And then you get to the new year, it's like, oh, actually, we've got January. We'll have a little mini break, say, around that Australia Day weekend, maybe just the week after. And then you have another little block, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're going to be ready to play by then. So there's not really much time to waste this year.
It catches you right off guard. Now, obviously, you mentioned challenges before, and that was more framed around the injury side of things. I wanted to focus, I guess, on the COVID years as well, 2020, 2021. How did you personally fare? Now, obviously, there was a grand final performance there that didn't work out for us at the end of the day. But in terms of, I guess, that whole arc of the couple of years and working through the restrictions and being in Queensland and the variety of different, I guess, factors that were hoisted upon you and every player at every club over the course of those years. How did you feel like you tackled that period? And I guess it's really hard to know. And hopefully for all of us, no one ever has to experience anything like this ever again. But how do you feel like you handled that? And
look, to be honest, I actually loved that time. For me, like, apart from missing my family and probably my dog, but I was, traveling around with my mates, hardly training because we were playing every, sometimes 5 days. Yeah, it was weird. There wasn't much training. You just travel, play, and we're up on the Gold Coast in nice weather, skipping winter. So I was pretty positive about it. I mean, I know it sucked and it wasn't, there's lots of rules and stuff like that. Sure. Like, everyone back home was locked up in the house. So if ever I was, feeling down about my situation, it's like, well, I could have been, back in Geelong, locked up with the 5K radius and all that kind of stuff. Instead, I still get to play footy with my mates. Like I said, I got to skip the Geelong winter, which is always nice. And we actually end up being pretty successful. We didn't quite get the win in the grand final, but apart from that, we had a great year in footy terms. So yeah, for me, I enjoyed it. Others will say it was the worst experience they've ever had. Maybe there's some people with kids that had to get them up and all the headaches with logistics with that. But for me, I had my car sent up as well, so
that's all right.
Freedom. There was these hire cars that they had for the club, but that was an issue because people keeping keys and all that.
Okay. Things just disappearing.
Yeah, so that were the problems we had. I mean, they're small problems, but I had my own car up there, so I literally would just go down to the beach. We weren't allowed to sit on the beach, but you could go for a swim, get a takeaway coffee, and be normal, which I think I did that pretty well. Even after the grand final, a few of us had our cars. We went up to Fraser Island, did some camping, and then we just cruised back eventually, got back to Victoria. So we probably made the best of that situation as well, which was good.
And in terms of the grand final part of it, obviously, we know the result there, and I don't want to spend too much time dredging too much up. But I guess, how did you reflect on that yourself? And for you personally, did that, I guess, provide the fuel you needed for what then ultimately became 2022 a couple of years later? I guess, was there anything there that you really feel like stuck with you?
Yeah. I think just being part of that day, I'd been to a couple of grand finals, and you sit in the stands, and it's, it is an amazing experience just to go and watch. So to kind of be on the other side of that, be in it, it's a completely different perspective, and it's amazing. I know we lost, but even after the game, I was like, that was one of the best experiences I've had, even though we lost, and it was also one of the worst experiences. But it does give you a bit of that fuel, and just a bit of confidence to know that we're around the mark. We had lots of years leading up to where we kept making the prelim, lose that. So just to make it, it was a great feeling. And in a way, it did feel like a relief that we made it. And everyone,
because you got over that prelim hoodoo.
Yeah, but it felt like everyone, even like the message, the vibe from back home, it was like, oh, it's okay. Like, you've made the grand final. Like, whatever happens now it's fine. Which I was a bit surprised. I was like, no, I want to win. Like, I don't want it just to be, at least we made the grand final.
Yeah, players often don't play to be the runner-up.
No. Like, as much as it was a relief, and it was nice to get over that little hump of the prelim, it stung just as much as losing a prelim, to be honest.
Yeah,
if not more, because you're just that close. So there was definitely fuel for the next couple of years. It was probably the opposite the year after, where we went across to Perth.
With the Ds.
Yeah, so I remember walking away from that. Oh, that was one of the lowest, because it felt for me like that was, like we're almost done. Like that was our chance. We've had a good run. There's some older guys. We're starting to get a bit older, and like that was it. That was the
progression of time doesn't go away. Yeah.
Yeah. In saying that, like reflecting on that year, is you don't want to use excuses or anything like that, but it's I don't think you can understand how sick some of our players were.
Yeah, I've heard a fair bit about that, and I was going to ask, just I guess, how bad was it that week with how Crook? I can't remember I've heard some numbers in terms of the number of players that were affected.
Yeah,
but I think, it sounds like it was close to 10 at least, from what I could gather.
I think there was at least 10 over that week, and like, yeah, it was not good. There was guys that were in their room, just cold sweats. Jeremy Cameron, he was no good. He was getting injections, half time with vitamins and stuff, just to be able to function,
just to keep him on 2 feet.
Yeah, pretty much. And like there was so many guys, like when you look back, you're like, especially if it's in a pandemic, you're like, how did they let that kind of go ahead? But
yeah,
saying that,
it's really weird.
Yeah, we it wasn't our year, and it, reflecting on how crook everyone was, it showed that when we were healthy the next year, things can go really well. But yeah, I remember, because we stayed in Perth again, and we did a bit of a road trip and stuff. Like I was with Blitzarves, Jack Henry, Sam Simpson. I'm going to forget. There's a couple others. Harry Taylor, actually, he took us up to Geraldton to his place. And I remember we pretty much did that just to get away, and we just wanted to forget about footy for a bit, and just avoid. It was probably good that we're in Perth and in the middle of nowhere, because no one was really talking footy or anything like that. We just went and had a good time with each other, which would probably helped us come the next year when we got back. It's all right, well, we need to fix a few things. You can't get pumped by that much and expect to win a flag. So, and then, as the year went on, it's like, oh, actually, we're going all right here. Like, things are right. And then it just got better and better and better as the year went on. So it was, it just shows when you have a healthy list, injury-wise, sickness-wise, whatever it is, it makes a huge difference.
And so I guess we spoke about 2020 and even 2021, the contrast then of the 2022 grand final. Now, obviously, it was a huge win. For you personally, what was it like to get the win, to have the premiership medallion, to be officially a premiership player for the rest of your life now, no matter what else happens? What was, I guess, going through your mind during the game? Because and I'm sure people's opinions will vary a little bit, but eventually there's a point that comes, you go, okay, we got this. I'd be curious to know when you felt like that might have been the case during the game. But you know, the whole thing before, after, during, what was it like for you to then become this premiership player?
Look, before it, obviously nervous, as you should be before grand final. But like the week leading up, the whole year leading up, like I said, I think we just got better and better, and everything was working. You're healthy, you got everyone on the park, and just everything worked. And you've got these guys like Jeremy Cameron that's just killing it. Hawkeye's killing it. Everyone's just playing good footy. So it's amazing if you lead into or go into finals with a bit of form. It's such a huge advantage.
And health, to your point from before.
And health, yeah. Having like a full squad to choose from is massive. But yeah, leading into the grand final, I was shit myself. I was in the hotel, I remember the night before. Slept all right, but I remember I was just nervous, which I think it should be.
Yeah, I think if you're not, there's probably a problem there, right?
Yeah, definitely. So and probably a bit of like, not so much hoping. It's more just like you're confident. We're definitely confident that we could get it done, but just probably hoping that the things that you've worked on and you know work will continue to work, which they did. Then I probably knew. I think it was the second goal in the third quarter. I don't know. I can't remember who kicked it, but I just remember running back. I can't remember. Someone was like trying to be real serious, and I was like, "Wait, we've won.
Look at the scoreboard.
We've won it." And then I kind of looked up like, "Oh yeah, shit, we have." So we can't. For me, I knew then. And then at 3/4 time, I think it's pretty well documented.
Yeah, it's pretty well documented. Yeah,
he came in and he was he's like, "We've got it." And I was like, well, when you hear your captain say that, you're like, that probably hits home a bit more. It's like, shit, all right. Like, let's just do it the right way now and not, don't be a smart ass or anything like that. Let's just enjoy it because it's one of the best times, especially when you got, 20, 25, 30 minutes to enjoy it. But on the flip side, I felt for Sydney. Like I'd, the prelim year before, like it's a lonely place when you got half an hour to cop it. So, but anyway, we won, which was more important.
Yeah, you don't want to wish it on anyone, but there does have to be a winner and there does have to be a loser, and it's just how these things go, unfortunately, for Sydney fans anyway, and Sydney players. I guess that last quarter itself for you. I mean, how do you stay on the job? You're out there. You got a job to do.
Yeah.
And I guess I should kind of, I think of Sammy DeConing just sneaking up forward and getting his own goal. Did you feel at all tempted to see if you could just wander into that end of the ground? On average, I think you've kicked about. I'm sure I could bring up the stats really quickly and check. But yeah, the goal tally isn't huge for yourself. But was there a temptation to try and sneak up there and jag one yourself?
A little bit, but they seemed to be just kicking them straight away when they went in. There wasn't really much of a chance, apart from DK when he snuck down probably 2 minutes too early when he shouldn't have. But like it was, maybe. But at the same time, I'm just enjoying being out here. It's not about me right now. Like I'm just happy to get that medallion at the end of the day. So yeah, it was yes and no.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, and I guess the after when that realization. I mean, you've had that realization during the third quarter, but the medal's around your neck. It's done. There's no going back from this point. You've won a premiership.
Yeah.
How did that sink in? Knowing obviously that Dad had tried and been unsuccessful.
For me, when I actually found my parents in the crowd, that was when I was like, this is happening. Like this is real. And just like, it's going to seem like cliche when you see your family and friends, how happy they are. So I saw my parents, they were on a different section. So I actually went and grabbed the cup and like showed them that. And they kind of snuck off. And then I found some friends behind the goals. And just to see them and see how happy, they were. It's like, it's all worth it. It's a bit of a blur, to be honest, that whole after the game.
Understandably.
Yeah. Even in the rooms after, like it was just full of people. I remember seeing like I was with my family most of the time. But yeah, just that energy in that room. It's like, this is this is why you play footy.
That's why you do it.
Yeah. So it was nice to finally, get that success. Even for Dad, like everyone, says, "Oh, is your old man jealous or anything like that?" I said, "Not really. Like he's now a premiership dad. He didn't quite get it as a player himself, but he's been part of it through me. So, he was just as happy as me. It was
I think any parent worth their salt, regardless of what experiences they may or may not have had, want nothing but the best for their own kids. And if they achieve something that they themselves couldn't, well, great. Like, as a parent, awesome. They've, I've helped them in some big or small way get to that point. It's
they've been no small point. They've been a huge part of it. It was nice to share that with them, my brother and sister, and all my family that were there. It was so far probably the best day of my life.
No, that's awesome, and hopefully there's time for another premiership medal to go around the neck as well. 2023, we spoke about continuity before in regards to yourself, but also, I guess, extending it to the full list. It feels like continuity through 2023 was perhaps the biggest challenge in the end, from people's bodies and the form that kind of stems from that. How do you reflect upon before we really start to cast an eye forward to 2024? How do you reflect upon, I guess, the challenges of that year?
Yeah, frustrating. Even I guess the supporters would have felt that too. And especially because the year before everything was working. So all these, all the plans were working, injuries, everything was like just falling into line. Whereas it's probably not quite the opposite, but things didn't fall in line. We dropped games we shouldn't have. Like you said, the continuity wasn't there. So it was probably frustrating. I hope we can look back and say it was a good thing, or maybe a positive thing that we didn't make the final. Because then we've already had a kick up the arse like this pre-season. So the training's already been, we've for one had an extra few weeks than what we did last year. All the guys have actually got a good break, got away, had that mental break. Where I don't think last year a lot of us didn't. I know I probably didn't. I was in a shoulder brace.
Right.
I was in the club most days, where I think it's good just to get away, forget about footy for a couple of weeks, then come back and you're ready, refreshed, ready to go. So I think we missed that last year, and then
you can all come back this year with a chip on your shoulder and
yeah, a little bit like that. But I feel like everyone was chasing last year, trying to get that fitness, trying to get healthy, and we just never really got there. In saying that, I think if we had snuck into finals, you just never know, because even though things weren't going to plan, we still felt like we could beat any team. So I think that's a good thing, being a Geelong player and supporter and being around the Cats, is there's not really many games where you go and thinking, oh, this is going to be tough. Well, sorry, not all games are tough, but
every game's tough, but you're really up against it.
Yeah, you're always going thinking, we can win this, which is, a lot of clubs can't say that. So that's what I love about the Cats. We're always going to be a chance to win. Even though some fans might think that we should win each week, it's so even these days. It's just not the case anymore. Maybe there's a couple of teams that struggle, but outside of that, it's so tight and even. So I think last year chasing our tail a little bit, whereas this year I feel like we're already leaps and bounds ahead of where we were last year, which is a big positive.
No, that's awesome to hear. And I've heard, up to this point, and again, touch wood, that the bill of health for everyone largely is pretty good at the moment. So again, hopefully that continues for yourself and everyone else on the list as well, because again, I think we've spoken about continuity, but that was, one of the big obstacles for the year. And I guess from the outside looking in, I feel like for you guys, I mean, yes, people will make their comments about the age profiles and all those sort of things, but I mean, the skill is clearly there, the talent's there, and if the hunger's there too, then what's going to stop? The only thing that can stop you is a clean bill of health, as far as I'm concerned.
I think we already debunked the age one, 2022.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so really, they can't be using that one again.
I'm sure someone will. I'll admit, I actually haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure there'll be someone that will want to trot it out at some point. I guess
Yeah.
It's an easy one to go to, I suppose.
Yeah, but the other thing is, we've got some young guys that are coming in, and they're looking good. And the spots. So I think it is positive. There's going to be more games into those young guys. They're going to get better again.
Yeah.
I'm not too nervous about the age thing. I don't think that's
now. I feel like I'm transitioning this poorly, given we were just talking about ages and those things. But before we started recording, we were talking about some off-field stuff and talking about list management and those sort of things. I guess beyond your playing career, whenever that ends, and again, that was really like bad timing, I guess, in terms of a transition there. But
Yep.
to kind of stay in the game beyond the playing experience, is there something you're doing or looking at and exploring for whenever that time eventually comes?
I'm doing some. Well, I'm in the process of chatting with this construction company in Geelong. So not so much inside footy. I've done some property stuff outside footy already, but I'll probably right now it'll be outside footy, but it'd be interesting when you're not, I guess, involved like I am at the moment.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking post footy after a year of maybe not being in the footy system at all.
Yeah.
So I'm open to everything that comes. I know what I'm thinking now might not be what I'm thinking once I'm retired. So at the moment I'm planning for a career outside footy, but there's still going to be links inside footy. I've got no doubts about that. Not exactly sure what it'll be yet. Hopefully I've got a couple more years to work that out. But,
yeah, I think you got plenty of time still.
But I think you got to plan these things. Though you just never know, and it's always handy to have things going on outside footy. Like I said, I've got that construction stuff. I'm just doing a share trading course at the moment, which I've got to get another assignment in next week. So there's little bits and pieces that every player does outside footy. Because otherwise, well, for me, if it was all footy, I'd go crazy. So I think you need something.
Yeah, you need that distance.
Yeah. Whereas other guys, I think Joel, he was just footy. That was his escape from everything. So he was a bit wired, a bit different. But for most people, I think it's just smart to have something outside footy, whatever it be.
And I mean, there's hedging your bets and all those sorts of things too. You can't bank on anything to happen. The world is an unpredictable thing. So
Absolutely.
You want to give yourself options and that sort of thing. And then if it turns out for you that the lure of footy, calls you back years after retirement, then so be it. But at least you've set yourself up to have choice and scope, which is obviously awesome. As we start to wind things down a little bit, I guess some more less you focused and kind of bigger top level sort of questions. In your eyes, who's the greatest cat of all time? I say greatest, not best, so it gives you a little bit of scope.
If you had say best player, it's definitely Gary Ablett.
Which one though? Because even I can't remember who said it. Someone in the media yesterday or the day before said the two best players that I've ever seen play are Gary Ablett. And of course, that's the reference to both of them. So
well, that was one thing I was wrapped when he got back to Geelong, because just to step on the field with him, I can say I've played with Gary Ablett Jr. So I think he's the best to play. That's biased because I've played with him and I haven't watched heaps of any of the old footage, so I can't. Dad would probably say senior.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating sort of perspective there. That obviously your dad's played with Gary Senior, and you've had the opportunity to play with Junior. That you it's this generational thing, but you've been able to kind of, I guess, it's been synchronized a little bit in that respect that you've been able to overlap.
Yeah. I'd say, but then in terms of like the best, probably Joel, because just what he's done, and being captain by him was unbelievable. So the way he steered the club was incredible. So yeah, he was probably the greatest, I think, so far. And then the best player probably Gaz Jr. for me.
So I guess like that response kind of answers my next one, because but the answer could vary. It's a schoolyard pick, and you've got Gary Jr. or Gary Senior standing in front of you. Which way? Yeah. And you're building your team. So I guess best versus the needs of the team might differ. But which way would you go?
So we're in the schoolyard. So there's not too many rules. So I'm going to go Senior on that one.
I like. I think you're the first person that's kind of mentioned. Oh yeah, rules are probably getting a little bit lax. You can probably
Oh,
throw a few
yeah,
and that sort of thing in touch.
Things that they used to do back in the day, I'd want senior. He's bigger too, so I'd just stand behind him. There's my protection.
I like it because I'd assume juniors is based on everything we just said, but that's a really awesome lens to look at it through that I probably hadn't considered considering I pitch at schoolyard. Good call. I guess it's a bit different because you're within the club, so you've obviously got so many mates that are there, and people you've been fortunate enough to play with for years. But I guess is there a certain group, and I guess we've kind of heard the misfits and those sorts of terms used over the years as well. But I guess if things get rough within the club, time to time, whether it's injuries or form or win loss, maybe external things that are impacting. Yep. Is there someone in particular you feel like that's your safe space, or that's my go-to? You got someone there that you've been always close with?
Yeah, Blitzar's for me. We were drafted pretty much the same year. He was slightly after with his Olympic.
With his
did not work at all. Thank God for us.
Yeah, worked out all right.
Yeah, glad it didn't. But yeah, Blitz is. We've done pretty much everything together. Played footy, travelled, everything. So it's even if it's not footy related, there's stuff going on. We always chat, talk about all our bloody plans and stuff that we want to do outside footy, and even though they're 90% outrageous and will never happen. So he's my
bounce ideas though, right?
Yeah. So yeah, he'd be mine for sure. We spend a lot of time together, and good mate.
In terms of the young group that is coming through, and obviously, we mentioned before that there is a changeover that's starting to happen as the old guard are retiring and moving on, and new faces have been traded in, drafted in, free agency, whatever the model happens to be. For the Cats fans watching and listening today, who's someone that you feel like, and I know we're right on the eve of the preseason kicking off properly as we record this, but who do you feel like we need to be keeping a really close eye on that might be ready to explode in 2024?
Yeah, well, it's not probably a surprise seeing his VFL form, but I reckon like Ollie Dempsey, he's just dominating, or last year he's dominated at VFL level. So once he kind of takes that next step and performs at senior level, I think that's pretty exciting. We saw Ted Clousey at the last game. So Teddy, I just love his story, and maybe it's because it reminds me similar to my path in terms of like you just got to work your ass off to get your chance. Which
I've heard of a little nickname of his that's starting to pop up, Term, for the Terminator. Phoenix was telling me about that yesterday. It's just because he's kind of he's carrying himself in that way that it's just border gate and nothing will stop him, sort of thing. It's I took quite a liking to that nickname. So
no, I'm happy to run with that. I just like his the way he just goes about it. He's physical. He has a crack. So he's one that will give it everything, which I love. I know he nailed me in a tackle in pre-season, and I thought I'll just get out of this one and run around all the time. Bang! I was like, I'm not getting out of this. Quite strong bastard too. But I'm excited for him, and I was so happy that he got that game late in the year, just to give him a taste. Which I think for someone like him, just to get that bit of reward, he'll use that.
He'll be hungry for more.
Yeah, every session you'll be thinking, I've done one game like this. Let's make a habit of this. Let's play more. Who else we got? All the young guys are like, as in the first years that we've just picked up. They're probably a bit harder to pick. They're kind of in and out of drills at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a bit tough to kind of.
No, completely understand.
But yeah, all the other young guys are they're a tight group. They all look well. I still think they all look the same. Long blonde hair, surfers.
There's that trend certainly emerging.
Yeah. So, but they're just all good fellas too. Tanner's probably another one. I know he's played lots already, but I think he's a ripper. He's going to play a lot more footy for Geelong, and I'm excited for him. I'm probably going to leave someone out here, but all those young guys it's exciting. It's an exciting place to be.
No, that's awesome to hear. Now we've kind of spoken about, I guess, looking forward to 2024 a little bit, which is usually one of my last questions. But I guess another pillar that's also really, really important we saw more of in the last couple of months is what's been going on with the girls lately. Obviously, the finals endeavours there coming really close.
Yep.
Obviously, there's Geelong does a great job with the cross pollination between both the men's and the women's teams.
Yep.
How are you seeing things? Obviously, it's still a long wait before we get to see them on the field again, representing the Cats in the AFLW level. But I guess how are you seeing how they're developing at the moment?
Super impressive. I think from where, and it's first probably across the board, every team, the whole competition from where it started to where it is now is actually quite good. Their skills are just unbelievable now. You're getting the girls, I feel like, that started from a young age. They're starting to come through now. So you're seeing that skill levels just like going through the roof. And last year it was unfortunate the way they finished because it felt like, obviously everyone was watching on TV being up in Queensland, but it was,
we were dudded. It's okay. We got screwed over. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say it. I'll say it. I won't put you in a spot, but
it was frustrating. But like at the same time, you're just proud because they had such a good year. Went to as many games as I could. I actually went and watched them against Melbourne. That was a good game. Yeah, it was stressful the last couple of minutes. They
came home hard.
Back and they're like, no. But no, I think even having that result, that'll put another flame in the belly, and they'll they'll come out. They'll do preseason again. That's the only thing with footy is everyone goes back to level pegs at the start. There's no one in front, so you got to start from the start.
Start all over again.
Yep, and then go at it again. Same with us. So I'm excited for them. And they've picked up another couple of young July. I think they're both Falcons. One was.
Bridie was Bendigo. Chantel was Geelong. Yeah. I need to make sure I get these facts right. I'm chatting into him like an hour and a half from when we finish. So I better make sure I double check all that.
Yeah, that's exciting for the girls getting picked up, and they'll come in and the thing is they're a chance to play because I don't think the score is as big in the girls. They're they're only a couple of spots away from getting a game, which is exciting.
Real opportunity. It's awesome.
Yeah, but no, loving watching the girls at the moment. Going really well.
So for all things Geelong men's or women's, feels like we're in a great place and there's no better time for people to be kind of climbing on board. I feel like I'm doing a membership pitch here, but people should absolutely be exploring those options for 2024. I'm sure it's going to be a great year for both the men's and the women's team. And Jed, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board to talk about this journey so far and to explore some of the ins and outs. And as I said before, hopefully before your time is done, hopefully this year there's another premiership medallion going around your neck.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. That's why we do it. So we're excited. We're looking forward to this year, and we're going to give a red hot crack.
If those watching or listening today want to, and we mentioned kind of Instagram before as an example of a platform, if people want to kind of touch base, see what you're up to, reach out even, where can people go?
My Instagram is probably where I'm most active, just at Jed Bews. But most of the stuff is probably some travel stuff recently, but it'll transition back into footy stuff now that
into
we're
footy mode.
So probably there.
So go check out Jed there. As you mentioned, there's plenty of kind of holiday stuff, but the footy stuff's there, and as I'm sure everyone here has just been witness to, fantastic to chat to as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show, mate, and sharing all of this so far. It's been a real pleasure.
No, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Cats fans, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe to the Hoops Crew on YouTube, Behind the Play on podcast services. Check out the Patreon. We're growing this platform. It's been an absolute joy to work on the last couple of years, and hopefully stick around for some awesome stuff that's come over the course of this year, interviews with Jed and many more. So please make sure to do that. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you next time.